Hello, 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 and welcome to the Heresy Hammer. I am Lee at Death from the Shadows, and joining me today is the glorious John at D6 Miniatures. How are you, mate?
Glorious, as you've no doubt
Glorious.
spotted to. Then yeah, feeling glorious. My glory knows
Have
no
you
bounds.
survived Storm Burt?
Yeah, it forced me underground, much like
Did
much like the
did
inhabitants
it?
of
I
Talon.
thought you all lived underground in Cornwall anyways. I thought that was
Oh
just a
mate, that's a
thing.
bit harsh. No. We're city dwellers largely. But no,
We
mate, I took refuge in my shelter and waited for the Iron Warriors to pass.
We've just been finding random objects in my garden. Like we found a water bottle, like the neighbor's fence.
We
Just random shit.
didn't
But
have
yeah,
anything too much like that, but you do tend to get a Facebook post on like the local like residents' Facebook saying, "I've got a trampoline in my garden. I don't know if it belongs to me."
the classic trampoline.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, we were okay. We nearly lost our table, but I'd managed to wedge it in, so
It's
we
normally my
didn't lose
barbecue cover that
that.
tends to
Disappear.
migrate elsewhere.
Well, we put a cover. We got like obviously it's an outdoor table, but we Izza said put a cover on it. So I put a cover on it, and then that just acts as a parachute. So
Yeah,
it was fucking halfway down the
the
garden.
sale,
But
if
yeah,
anything else.
yeah, literally, yeah. Anyways, enough about Storm Burt. What are we talking about today? Before we do that, I always do this. Always. Before we do that. Let's give a shout out to our awesome sponsors. So up first, Sacris Mundus. If you want some amazing terrain, go check them out. You buy the STL file, I believe it's
Yeah, you
called.
buy the
I'm
file, you
not
print it
a
at home.
3D printing nerd. And then change it to whatever size you want. If you play Legions Imperialis, if you play the one true game, Age of Darkness, change it to your size, print them
Yeah.
out,
If
make
you
an amazing table.
yeah, if you play with the Joy Toys in massive scale,
There you go. Yeah.
you can make it
Yeah. What
enormous.
even scale would that be? I don't know.
Huge,
50.
huge scale,
Yeah.
life size,
Humongous
pretty
scale.
much. Yeah, that pyramid you
If
could
you
live in.
want to dress up as a space marine, you could print these out at full, bit by
Yeah,
bit, and make yourself an actual one-to-one scale
yeah.
table. There you go.
You turn your garden into Prospero.
Yeah. And then see it disappear with Storm Burt.
Yeah, absolutely. Blow into neighbour's garden.
Right, what's up now? Oh, it's not working. And shout out to Curtain Games, your local hobby store.
One of my local hobby stores, but
One
the
of,
local hobby store I frequent the most. They're just great guys. I'm about to tap them up this week for some stuff for our second annual Christmas giveaway. So,
yes, yeah, a little
mm,
sneak peek of something that may be coming. Well, is coming.
but it is coming because we spent
Yeah,
the money now.
yeah,
So,
because it's done. Or we just keep it for ourselves.
yeah,
Like,
well, don't tell Rob.
no, yeah, shh. Rob's not going to watch this. Well, he will. He'll be
No,
checking up on us when he'll be
also
like,
will,
"What them
absolutely, mate.
fuckers
Yeah.
been doing?" Go check out Oakhampton Games, Curtain Games, if you want some amazing service and some awesome goodies.
Yep.
And then Gator 3D printing, if you want any little bits added to your dudes, any helmets, shoulder pads, or even just dudes printed out, go check out Gator 3D. Dan has been pretty active on our WhatsApp group,
Yeah,
so
you
you
be,
could
innit?
message him there.
Surprised you got any time for printing. Although to be fair, I think there are lulls in printing, aren't there? When you set
I
something to print, you've got a lot of time to waste by book.
Yeah, I guess then you just fucking troll the internet, don't you? I guess
Yeah,
that's what they do. Just hit
yeah.
up more nerds. But go check out Dan. He does some awesome work. He's done a lot of stuff for us in the past.
Mm.
And that
On
is
that,
it.
on that note,
Yes.
before we get
Oh,
into
before we
that,
get
yeah,
into it.
if you want to join the WhatsApp community, we've got
Ah,
nearly close to 400 members, and it's I'll be honest, with you, it's so
400.
active, I've completely lost control of
I,
it.
I,
So
it's become its own thing.
I
It's
know
its own.
every time I look away, it seems to grow another head.
I did
So
look this morning and it was like 300 messages just in one of the groups. And I
yeah,
was like,
bananas.
no, I
I
can't read 300 messages.
No, well, we have contained it into its relevant parts. If you're more interested
Yeah,
in
yeah,
read the
yeah,
events
yeah.
blog, if you're more interested in painting, then you can jump in the painting channel. Um, if you need to pause it and take a break, come back later.
I like to just drop in, have a
Yeah,
quick
me
read what's
too.
going
Big
on,
fan.
and then immediately jump out
Bug out.
of
Yeah,
the rabbit hole.
you
Uh,
can I think you can find the link. The best thing to do is find the link on the link tree, which is linktree/Heresy Hammer. Well, if I remember, I'll put a link in the show notes when I put this episode up. But also, if you dive over to Instagram at Heresy Hammer Show, in our bio, we've got a link tree for all of our links for Patreon, for YouTube, for the podcast now. So we're releasing the audio from the shows,
Yes, yes,
all of
yes.
your major podcast feeds, and that's been super, super popular. So thank you everyone that subscribed. If you like to listen in the car or whilst you're doing other things, and you can now download it on your favorite podcast platform. And if you can find it in your heart to leave us a 5-star review, that'd be wonderful. And I think, like I said on the last show, I'm going to pick one over the Christmas period of my favorite 5-star review. I'm going to send something out. So yeah,
Nice,
your
nice.
time. What are we discussing today? I've not even bothered looking, to be honest with you. So
So, we are talking about Heresy in a new edition. We are going to have a little chat about the rumors of a upcoming third edition. Um, Producer
this is a
Kerry,
spicy topic. This one,
it
Lee, isn't it?
it
This is
is, it is.
controversial.
So, yeah, it is, I guess. Have you paid much attention to? We have heard a lot of rumors
Mm.
from a lot of different sources. Do you pay attention to the rumors, or do you kind of are you like meh, or are you like what the fuck, or
It's a
how's
tough
your
one.
reaction?
It's a real tough one because I would have said at the beginning, I was kind of all across things thinking, oh my God, there's going to be a new edition, potentially. Although I think with the success of the second edition, it would make sense for them to want to re-release in the same way that they do with 40k and Age of Sigmar. It's clear that Heresy is a real core part of the 28 mil business going forwards, and also is the only small scale that they offer. So Heresy is clearly a big deal. I paid a lot of attention to start off with, and then I paid a lot less attention because I was like, it's clearly so far away and in
Yeah,
development. Actually, it doesn't like getting my knickers in a twist, doesn't really help with anything. And now I'm starting to hear the same rumors from various sources. There's a lot more, how do I put this? Kind of concrete information that's coming through, I feel stuff
yeah,
that might actually be the case. It doesn't feel like rumor and scuttlebutt anymore. It feels like this is what is going to be happening. So
yeah.
what about you? Do you
Yeah,
care?
it's interesting. I tend to keep kind of one eye on rumors, but I tend to find it all gets lost because we're just getting little snippets of bits. And even when I mean even look at second edition when the Warhammer community would release like part of a rule and people would
Mm,
be like, "My God, this is the end of the world."
yeah,
And then you realize when the full rules came out that actually it either is or it isn't. And
yeah,
generally people just are like, whatever. Like contemptors were like the most game breaking thing at the end.
yeah.
And now contemptors are just contemptors, you
They're
know. So
fine. It's all fine, right? It's all going to be okay.
yeah. And if
Whatever they've
it's
got
not,
planned, it's all going to work out for the best.
that's
Yeah, I
it.
remember specifically talking about. I think this was actually when I guested on the Merchant Princelings. We talked about the Alpha Legion rule had sort of dropped that week, and everyone was,
Right.
well, it's
Oh
whatever.
shit. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's bananas. It's one of
Yeah.
the best
Yeah.
Legion
Yeah.
traits in the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's I my hope is that it stokes the fires in the way that we would want, in so much that it piques people's interest and draws people who've maybe drifted away back into the game, or gives something a good discussion point rather than people just immediately gathering all of their toys and throwing them out of the nearest pram.
Yeah. 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 Let's not set fire to our armies quite yet.
Yeah, it will destroy your fell blade of a hammer.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. Oh, I love that video. Okay, so producer Kerry has put a whole heap of show notes together, and I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't looked at any of them. So as we go through it,
It's
um,
what's called a cold open. It's just the fact
yeah,
that
yeah, well,
the
it's
cold is continuing into the main portion of the show and probably right to the end.
So let's get into it. A new edition. Rumors of active playtesting for a new edition have been circulating for several weeks now, in no part thanks to Rob discussing it in a previous episode. Fucking classic, Rob. I mean, I would say several months now, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I would say
But
months. I think Kerry's been very generous with weeks.
yeah, we've been hearing rumors for quite a while now. With Warhammer 40K having its big update in 2023, an Age of Sigmar in 2024, a Horus Heresy update in the summer of 2025 is a possibility if it is now treated as one of the main game systems. And I think this is one of the main things people were looking at, isn't it?
Yeah,
The main game systems, for those that don't know, tend to have a 3 year life cycle and then they get updated. And kind of 2025 will be the 3 year point for Horus Heresy. So I think it's fairly obvious it is one of the main game systems, besides them basically saying it is in their reports.
yeah,
They've put
absolutely.
so much into the plastic kits um, that it's a major investment now for the company, isn't it? So it kind of
I think
fits
so.
in with their timelines.
And speaking to some retailers who I know well, the majority of people I speak to say that in terms of like monetary value, Heresy outsells Age of Sigmar by a comfortable margin.
And that doesn't surprise me. I've not heard a lot. I don't play Age of Sigmar, and apologies to people who love it, but I have not heard good things about the new edition.
No, I played
Um,
a lot in second edition, and actually, I genuinely thought it was a really, really good game.
right.
Um, I played it alongside Heresy. It kind of filled a bit of a void until Old World was released,
Yeah.
but I don't think the uptake for third edition, I don't think third edition was looked upon particularly fondly, and
All
I'm
right.
not sure that the latest edition has done much in terms of bringing people back to the game. Uh,
Right. That's a shame.
so it wouldn't surprise me to learn that Heresy was competing with it quite hard for shelf space.
Interesting, interesting.
Mhm.
So this could be a third edition or it could be a 2.5 update, similar to what we saw halfway through first edition. So again, for those that don't know, we had first edition and then they basically re-released the rule book and it was kind of the first edition with all the facts put in and a few things touched
Wait,
up. It wasn't a
yeah,
completely new edition like second edition was. So it could be, but I have a feeling if they're gonna update it, it's gonna be a new
yeah,
game. I
it's gonna
don't
be a
think
blank sheet
they'll
of paper, isn't it? I'm sure
Yeah.
some things carry over, but it wouldn't surprise me if certain mechanics disappeared, and it also wouldn't surprise me if certain major mechanics were added. So, in the same way that we had with second edition, with things like brutal, with wounds for dreadnoughts and
Yeah.
big monsters, and obviously reactions being the biggest way of kind of phasal.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't hate it, but the thing I did like about first edition was the fact that I don't know, every 3 years getting a completely new rule set. You could argue like it what am I trying to say? It keeps it fresh, it keeps it new.
yeah,
But on the flip side, you could be like, well, the game's been out 2 years. I want to get into it, but is there any point? Because in a year's time, there's going to be, you know what I mean? Like, some
yeah,
people like just playing the same rules, and some people don't want that constant. Every 3 years, I've got to buy all the new books. I've got to buy all, is this unit going to be rubbish in the new rule set? Is it going to be good? Blah, 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 blah. Are they going to change units that can't now take this weapon, which did happen in second edition, Ursulax, is it? I can't think what they're called. The assault
that's
Thalax,
right. Yeah,
basically. Essentially, they can only take, is it power fist per every three? And before they could
yeah,
just take them all. So people are like, well,
yeah.
now I have to tear off all the power fists and blah 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 blah. So I kind of see the argument for and against it. Me personally, I would prefer just an update rather than a new edition, but I think it
Yeah,
will be a new edition.
I think as a society we're conditioned to resist change quite heavily.
Yeah, we hate change and we hate things staying the
Yeah,
same, don't
yeah,
we?
exactly. Comfort and continuity are things that we feel, I think, quite an affinity to. Whereas you get to a point where the need for change becomes so overwhelming that any change is welcome. So, I'm of the opinion that a freshening up is what I'd like to see, but I suspect we're going to see probably something more comprehensive.
Yeah. Yeah. So apparently we asked our Heresy Hammer Patreon members on Facebook
We did.
what their hopes for a new edition were and what rules most needed tweaking. Oh, good Lord. That's throwing a grenade in a room, isn't it?
I know, but it's called Lee a discussion topic, and it promotes healthy debate.
Good. I
Um,
like it.
is the
Everything
thing I was thinking.
suggested is here,
Yeah,
even the ideas we don't agree with, and a few of our own. Well, let's
here
have a
we
look.
go. Right.
Quality of life improvements. Rebalance the books against one another better, e.g., Custodes and Solar Auxilia. Yeah, I mean, you tend to find with games as vast as this, there's always going to be an imbalance. There's always something that is a hard counter to something else, isn't there? But there are, I mean, Militia is a prime example of
Mm.
like they're just not particularly great. But then part of me is like, militia aren't meant to be great. You know, they're just the
Yeah,
dickheads that get murdered. So
they're meant to be shit, but at the
it's
same time, you do
you,
need to have some tools within that that enable you to be. And I think there's going to be times here where we're going to use the word competitive, not necessarily in the
yes,
context of tournament winning, more a case of you want to have, especially if you've invested all this time and effort and money into building and painting an army, and so is your opponent, and you want to be, there's a social contract that tends to exist more so in Heresy than most games, and
yeah,
you want to turn up to the table and give your opponent a good game.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that's
definitely,
where
yeah,
some of the books can sometimes struggle a little bit, either because they're just not balanced in the way that we might want to talk about it, or because they lack in a certain way. But then again, you might
yeah,
just have to get a little bit kind of creative with allied detachments or. But if you want to create an all comers militia list, you're probably going to struggle with the way things are at the moment.
yeah, yeah. Agreed. Yeah, you want to go to an event, even a narrative event, and know that you stand a chance to win, don't you? You don't want to
Yeah,
just turn up going, well, I lost all my games, but I
yeah.
had fun.
I just don't just want to make up the numbers because that's
Yeah.
fun for anyone, right?
Avoid change for change's sake. If it ain't broke, leave it alone.
I think the difficulty with this particular statement is that you will find that people will love a certain thing, want it to stay the same, and other people that will hate a thing and want it to
Yeah.
go away. So that's always going to be a tough circle to square, I think.
You're never going to please everyone, are you?
No,
Yeah. But then I do get what they're saying, you know, don't just if something works, then
yeah,
why change it? Um, I mean, I think we can all agree there's a lot of things in second edition that don't particularly work.
mm.
Uh, but we'll get
We
onto
came
that.
across one the other day, didn't we? With the example of certain units that have been like shock pulsed. That still
Right.
doesn't work.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
actually just doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, yeah, I think we'll come on to that later, but
yeah,
um yeah, that is a prime example of something that makes my teeth itch in second edition
yeah,
of like just fucking fix it.
yeah.
Find so here we go.
Mm.
Find a simple but elegant way in which the total number of words in a standard sentence can be reduced from being excessive, such that a rule can explained in a far briefer way without unnecessary, superfluous words taking up extra space and thus confusing the matter that is being
I
discussed.
really hope that is irony from Kerry there, giving us an enormous sentence when we could have boiled down that much more. I,
But
I, I suspect knowing Kerry, it's a witty quip at the situation. It's satire, right?
yes, yeah. And I agree with this 100%.
Yeah,
This is probably one of the things I have found the most frustrating in second edition is the fact that they use fucking 20 paragraphs when they could have used a sentence.
yeah, absolutely. It's the
And
classic
actually,
a
go on,
meeting
sorry.
should have been an email scenario, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's just like you read some rules and you're like, what the fuck are you trying to say? Like, I don't even know what you're
Yeah,
trying to say. And then the trouble with that is I found like I'll be writing a list and then I'm like, oh, you know what? I just can't be asked doing this because every game I have, I'm going to have to explain this rule to someone. And then we're going to have a discussion about how they read that rule.
yeah,
And then it just becomes a thing of like, oh, you know what? I can't be bothered. I'll just do a different list. And
yeah.
I it there's always going to be misinterpretations, or people will interpret a rule a different way. You will always have that.
Hmm.
But the less words you use, the less confusing it is. It's
Correct.
like whoever wrote the rules is clearly paid by the word, because it's insane. And it's one of the things I did like. I don't know if they did it in 10th edition, but with 9th edition 40K, what they did, and there's still people got rules wrong or misread things or whatever, but they wrote the rule, and then at the end of the rule, they did like um just little just sentences, like just explaining that rule, just
A
literally
designer's
like,
note in a little
yeah,
box
yeah, literally,
to,
but
to
literally
yeah,
just like one sentence, and you're like, that now makes sense. Like, I've read this, I think I understand it, and
yeah.
now I've read these little bits at the bottom, and that makes 100% sense.
There are
I
so
really
many
like that.
instances where something is written with no context and no intention, and it's then I think it's very easy to misconstrue the intention of the wording.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it probably comes to, I mean, I'm no rules writer, but I feel like a lot of these I don't know how many rules writers they have, but I think it's the classic thing of, if you write something and then you rewrite it and then you write it again and then you change it and you do this and you do that, like, it makes perfect sense to you,
Yeah,
but it's not been given to someone else, because that someone else will then go, this makes no sense. I
yeah,
have no idea what you're trying to say here. But to that person writing it, I mean, yeah, it makes perfect sense. But
absolutely.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
clear as mud.
yeah, yeah. Okay, no. Some legions just have too many rules, too many gotchas. Yeah, I mean,
I think that there is I don't necessarily agree with this. I think what you'd have is it comes back to the balance topic of some legions are just actually don't have enough sort of negatrait in there. They're just
yeah,
you've got scenarios where you can kind of get round the majority of counters.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of a legion like the Dark Angels,
Yeah,
where you've got so many little subsections of that legion
that's
that.
fair. Yeah,
But I guess the thing is just, I mean, I guess I agree. Like, I don't play very often, so like, less rules is better for me. But then the thing I like about Heresy is it's not 40K, where they've dumbed it down so much.
yeah,
You kind of have, especially in the army building phase, you kind of have very limited options.
yeah.
Or from what I see, I don't play 40K, but from what I've seen of 40K. But then I do get the flip side of, if there's too many rules, you just end up forgetting half of them.
Yeah, you don't just want a scenario where you've got blue ones versus red ones or silver
No.
ones versus black
Yeah.
ones, do you?
Yeah. But I do kind of get that to a point. But then also, the more you play your army, the better you get at remembering your army. Part of
Yeah,
that just comes down to just getting the reps in.
absolutely.
A game that retains options and supports conversions. Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think this is one thing that we are losing ever so slightly. Um, with the kind of console models and stuff. Like, when I first got into Heresy, I don't think there was any console models. There was a Master of Signal, there was a handful
Yeah,
of, and so you had to make your own conversions. And part of the fun was seeing what people created. Whereas nowadays we've got so many options that it's like, well, I'll just buy that, I'll just buy this, and then it's done. Which I get, and I understand that some people fucking hate converting models and can't be asked. Um, but for me personally, half the fun was kind of seeing, what
I
people
agree.
had come up with.
I mean, how many heresy players do you know that have enormous, extensive armies that go back a decade or so years and might play 3 or 4 games of a year? It's not necessarily all about the gaming aspect.
No, yeah, 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 I'd
Yeah,
agree with that.
we
Yeah.
don't want to take the hobby out of the hobby, do we?
No, no, exactly that. Yeah. But then sometimes the rules can limit what you can convert.
Yeah,
And this comes back again to some of the rumors I have heard. Um, uh, GW has very much gone down a line at the minute where they don't want models crossing over from different ranges. So 40k models they don't want in Heresy, Heresy models they don't want in 40k.
I can
Uh,
understand, to be fair, and I don't
say
mind
again,
that, to be honest with you, at all.
do you not?
No,
Um,
not really. I mean, we talked earlier a little bit about there's always going to be some degree of crossover. For an example, last week they released or they showed pictures of the new Death Corps of Krieg range, and you can 100% see those miniatures being utilized in a militia or a solar army.
yeah,
Likewise, the solar tanks you could easily port back over to 40k. So I
but
don't.
then the thing I would say to that, the counter argument is the militia army is just a legacy. It's not an official book.
Yeah, I see that. I think
So you
that's
know what I mean? They've done it, but I feel like they're a bit like, we know they're going to buy 40k models to do this, and we don't like that. It's very much the vibe I got. Um, I could be totally wrong, but that's just so like there's no Chimera, is it? Chimera, the
Chimera.
yeah, there's none of those in the militia list, and we know they were in the heresy. Is that because
Yeah.
they don't want us buying a 40k model? I don't know, but it yeah, it seems counterproductive to me because if people are buying stuff, then they're buying stuff.
I
You're
think personally, this is the flip argument to Heresy becoming a mainline game. When when we were talking about Heresy still being part of the design studio and being treated as a specialist game, there were it naturally came with connotations where there was a bit more of a grey area to operate in, I think, from a gaming modeling
right, yeah,
perspective. Whereas
yeah.
I think now with Heresy becoming more of a core focus part of the Warhammer universe, you are going to have a want and desire to keep it separate.
Yeah, I guess I see that to be fair. Yeah, it does make sense. I guess
I
I'm
think with a
just a
lot of the
bit
things
of
we're going
a
to talk about, there are flip sides to every coin, aren't there? And this
yeah.
is just one of the bigger flip sides to us having a greater plethora of new models, plastic kits, new releases. So yeah, I think that one of the things that makes Heresy unique is that a lot of people who enjoy the game see it as much as a hobby project, as much as they do a gaming army.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do think if that is removed, then you'll start to see some of the soul of Heresy disappear a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I do think, yeah, that's one of the big differences I see as an outsider to 40k, the big difference between 40k and Heresy. 40k to me feels very much like a competitive game. People take
Yeah,
the best units they can to crush their opponent as quickly as they can, which is fine, and I'm sure there are people that play 40k narrative, but from my own gaming group, I generally don't see that. I see usually people are putting messages up who wants a competitive 40k game. I've got a list I want to try. I've got an
yeah,
event coming up. It's not I've created, the first company of the Blood Angels and I want a fluffy game against this or
yeah.
that. Whereas
I put Death
Heresy,
God Army together, and who wants to play? Is there a Raven God player that wants to play me at Istvan?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's yeah. Whereas and yeah, with my local club, the Heresy games that are going on at the minute,
Mm.
they're doing the Siege of Terror, so it's a campaign game.
Yeah.
So completely like you couldn't have more opposite sides of the spectrum of all the 40k appears to be quite competitive, and all the Heresy games that are going on are part of an ongoing campaign and are actually quite fluffy and narrative. So
Yeah.
so I feel like yeah, there is that, and I kind of hope we don't lose that. I know when just picking on the militia again, when we first got rules for militia, it was kind of written like we want you to convert things. We want you to
Yeah.
this isn't a particular model range. We want you to just go nuts and
Yeah. Go
and
wild.
and yeah. And I hope we don't lose that aspect of heresy.
I
But
think
then
it'll be.
like you say, the flip side is it's easier for people getting into it if you can just come
Yep.
along and
Absolutely.
buy your whatever. So I guess yeah, like you say, there's two sides to both arguments really. But yeah, I do hope we don't lose the flavor of heresy.
Yeah.
Um, which yeah. balanced narrative gameplay, not competitive as the focus, which is kind of what we've just been talking about.
Yeah.
Although I have a feeling they'll probably go down. They tend to do this competitive narrative and then something they tend to 40K and Age of Sigmar tends to follow they have words for it. I can't remember, like narrative gameplay, competitive gameplay, and then I think they have something else. So
Yeah.
I I don't know if they'll do that with a new edition of Heresy to bring it in line with 40K and Age of Sigmar.
I I my feeling would be that if they did that, they've maybe read the room wrong.
Yes,
I think a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
players got into Heresy and play Heresy because they love the backstory and they love all of the like the beautiful lore that has been written for the last 15 years now since Horus
Yeah,
was
yeah,
released.
yeah.
Um and also a lot of people that I know who have picked up Heresy in the second edition have migrated over because they love the setting and they want a, a gaming experience that is less competitive.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
yeah,
exactly why I got into the Heresy back in first edition. I started playing 40K 7th edition at my local gaming club when I got back into the hobby, and I wanted to create like a Dark Angels company.
yeah,
And I just had a load of infantry dudes, and every game by turn two, I'd be fucking done. And I was like, this is shit. I'm gonna have to start buying all the powerful things that I don't particularly want to play. And then one day in walked this dashing young Robert Medwell with a World Eaters army from a Heresy World Eaters army. And obviously back then, 7th edition, you could play 40K against Age of Darkness. And I played a game against him and it just blew my tiny little mind because it was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This guy
yeah.
isn't running all the bullshit. He's got a load of infantry, he's got a load of dudes with chain axes, and we had a fucking great game. And that
Where have you
was
been all my life?
literally, yeah, yeah, where have you been? Apart from in my dreams, Robert.
Yeah,
And that was
and
it.
now,
Yeah,
of course,
literally.
your nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, just fucking waking
Yeah.
nightmare, constantly messaging me. Have you done that video yet? Have you
Oh,
ordered
he's
these
such a
tokens?
maniac, isn't he? Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that was literally the thing. I was like, I am sick of just getting my ass handed to me every game I play. I want to have a cool army that isn't necessarily all the top tier shit, and I just want to have a laugh. And I think that
yeah.
is very much what they should keep the flavor of Heresy because they've got 40K. If you want to go play competitive, go play 40K. You know, and I'm not saying you can't play Heresy competitive, but I don't think that should be the core
No, I
of
think
it.
we did a show previously about is there a place for competitive play in
Right.
Heresy? And I think the conclusion was that there is,
Yeah, why
but at the
not?
same time, it's not the mainstream.
No, we don't want
So,
points updates every 2 months. We don't want.
well, I mean, maybe Suzerain getting a little bump might be something to consider, but
But
still,
there's things, I'm not saying we don't want anything, but we
yeah,
don't want 40K. Like
yeah.
I tried
We're,
playing
we're
ninth
Goldilocks,
edition,
aren't
like
we?
I couldn't keep up with it. I literally couldn't keep up with it. It was
No,
just like I'm done. Like
yeah.
but we want something. Yeah, just yeah. Um
Well, we want it to be done properly and when we want it, obviously.
yes.
We want to have our cake and then we want to eat our cake, Lee.
Update and re-release legacy units that are out of production rather than releasing plastic of what we can still buy. Give me that plastic Estus assault wrap.
Yeah.
Then make its rules usable. Yeah, I agree with this. Uh, yeah, we all want a plastic assault ram, and GW, if you're listening, you would fucking sell them by the hundreds. I would buy 100 right now.
Okay. Are you
Uh,
are you committing that right now?
I
You're
have,
committing your children's future
maybe
to
not,
100
maybe
sets of
not.
assault rams. You know what, mate? If you'd have bought 100 System Assault Rams 5 years ago, you'd probably be able
Fucking
to buy my house now.
yeah, Jesus Christ! I'd pay my mortgage. Well, maybe not pay my mortgage off. Yeah, I'd make a
Lee
dent
lives
in
in
my
an
mortgage.
enormous palace, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know. That's why the
um,
boiler's taken so long to repair.
my fear with a new edition is that they just don't bother with the legacy stuff. That is one of my
Yeah,
fears.
me too.
And I really hope they don't do that because they will have a lot of salty people. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
but we shall see. It's one of the things that's stopping me from making the start on a militia allied detachment is because I have a horrible feeling that all the legacy
I just got to
units,
go, man. Mate.
yeah,
You're
and
better
I
off with the
just
mechanical mallet detachment because it
well,
only takes
that's
about
what I'm doing, yeah,
3 weeks.
because purely because of that, because they've got Solo Auxilia, they've got Mechanicum now. I do have a horrible feeling that we won't see any of the, or we'll see some of the legacy stuff come in the main
Mm,
rules,
maybe
and some of it will just be cut. But who knows? That is not me hearing rumors. That's just me guessing.
that's just your
Um,
fears
yeah,
and your anxieties about what
yeah, it keeps
the
me
cloud
awake at
brings
night. I
you.
want little militia dudes to run across the table. Well, to get killed turn one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Internal balance within a book. Plenty of options that are just categorically better than others, both units and Legion rules.
I think, Kerry, the context here is that there are plenty of options that are just categorically better than others.
Yeah, but I think you're just gonna have that, aren't you?
You're always going to have,
Unfortunately,
you
like,
can't, as
no,
this is the ultimate want of any wargamer, I would say.
yeah,
It's just never, ever, ever going to happen because I also think this is very closely linked to your local meta as well.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think whilst this is the holy grail of any rules writing, I just don't think it's ever going to be fully possible. You're always going to have
no,
a little bit of cream that will rise to the top. I think with
yeah,
the Legion rules, I quite liked about the Legion rules in first edition was that you had a positive and you had a negative.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing them bring the Legion negatives back in, maybe to counter some of the positives. But I don't think you're ever going to, as much as you would wish for it, you're never going to have full parity of units within a book or
no,
release.
no, and to be honest, I'm okay with that because again, this is where the heresy community is fairly good at um at controlling themselves and
Yeah,
not just running an army of whatever is the most nonsense unit. Um, that's part of why I enjoy playing kind of more narrative based games. I like basing a force on something, not
yeah,
just taking fucking nonsense units that
yeah,
work best together.
yeah,
Um, but I don't hate that some people do that. If they want to go and play that sort of game, then go and do it. Like we said, if you want to go to an event, a competitive event, and play that, then go and do it. Like some people, they get joy from trying to break the rules. They
yeah,
that's where their fun is. It's not for me personally. But again, just kind of find your target audience. If you're going to an event that's being sold as a chilled out narrative event, probably don't take all your bullshit stuff.
yeah,
And then sometimes it's fun just to run the shit units. They
yeah,
might be
absolutely.
shit, but it's fun. Um,
Yeah, I mean, how nice is it when you get to a table and you've got a bit of a dog shit list? And you look over the table, your opponent's like, oh, you've got a shit list too. Oh, we're going to have a great time because
did
neither of
we
us have got any expectations.
did we just become best friends?
Yeah, have we just become best friends? Yeah, exactly. I've had a
Yeah, yeah,
couple of times
100%.
where I've taken what I deem to be a more narrative list to an event because I'm not having any fun with 10 Siege Tyrants and 10 Iron Havocs and
Yeah, yeah,
all of this
yeah,
other horse shit that you just kind of feel peer pressured into taking. Um, and you get to an event and you're like, oh, I've got an Ironfire list. You've got an interesting allied solar and mech list. We're going to have a great time here.
yeah, yeah. Some
Yeah.
of my best games have been when I've
Yeah.
been getting my shit pushed in all weekend, and then
Mm.
you come up against the other person who's been having their shit pushed in all weekend,
Oh, the
and it's
pressure's off.
like,
Game
yeah,
4 on a Sunday.
yeah, no one gives a
Kill point.
fuck. Yeah,
Yeah. Just go
yeah.
at
So
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Generic progressive campaign system. Um, yeah, we've had. I mean, I'll be honest. I haven't really looked at the campaign systems we've had in the books we've had.
I think they're pretty good. I think there was a relatively generic campaign system in Beat It Gone.
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but then my counterpoint to this particular argument is that someone who's run a fair few events now in second edition and has got a couple planned for next year, I do think that this one side of the argument is great, you can just put on a little local event easily, and then you can just utilize the generic campaign system and maybe play a campaign weekend.
Yeah.
Flip side to that argument is that people create the more creative, I'm not putting myself necessarily in this category, but the more creative EOs out there then just fall back on something, and it just isn't like an easy just, oh, we'll just play a campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I
Some
guess
free las cannons to whoever's losing.
the flip side of that, I suppose, is and this is where I like the idea of the generic campaign system, because the
Hmm.
campaign systems we've seen have been for those specific kind of books. Uh, is when I first started playing Heresy, there was quite a big group of us in Cambridge playing Heresy, and in one of the black books, they did release a kind of generic campaign system,
Yeah.
and we used to follow that, and it was great. You'd go away for a weekend, we just go to Warhammer World,
Hmm.
and I would use that template to create my own campaign. You know, you could chop and change some of the rules and bits. And we used to have like really good weekends of just playing out this campaign that if I hadn't seen those generic kind of rules, I wouldn't really know where to start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have, and I
That's
would have probably have never have been like, let's do a campaign. I'd have been like, let's just go away and have a weekend and play some
yeah.
games. Um, so it was for me personally, it was a really good kind of starting point to have kind of weekends away. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it can be the lazy man's option to just run events. But then if you sell an event as that, is that a bad thing?
No, of
I
course,
don't think so.
as long as people know what they're getting, right? And again,
Yeah,
discussion that's just being had over in the WhatsApp community at the moment is that as long as you are clear as to and set your stall out as to what things are, then people should have a good understanding as to what the expectations are.
yeah,
The
yeah.
difficulty is, Lee, is I'm an inherently lazy man, so I am very lazy, very
I feel,
lazy.
I
So
feel you there. I feel
yeah,
you. Yeah. It's exactly what I do.
yeah,
Generic campaign system
yeah.
weekend.
We're going to play on the planet of Genericus 4
Yeah, 100. In fact, I'm writing that one down. I'm
in
keeping
the bland
that.
system.
In the band system.
We're just going to play a war game.
Right, moving on. Equalized legions. Why do some rights of war move units to troops but not lines? Some legion-specific weapons can't be taken by command vets, etc. Uh, yeah, I mean, I, I think Rob's talked about this before, that I feel like some of the right of wars have almost lost their flavor.
Hmm.
And also, you used to be able to take special characters that would unlock certain things. So you'd be able to unlock troop,
Yeah,
like, um, oh God, I can't remember who it was. There was an Iron Warriors character who unlocked Terminators into troop choices.
was gold, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah, and then you could mix that in with a right of war, so
Mm,
then you could like deep strike all your Terminators in or
yeah.
something, you know.
Or if you were to
So
take Perturabo, he would give Terminator's Deep Strike, and you'd be able to.
yeah.
All of a sudden, you like, there's a plan coming together.
So you had layers within layers, which I think
Yeah,
has been lost slightly in this edition. But there's always going to be some rights
yeah,
of war, Legion specific or not, that are better than others. Again, I get what you're saying, and some probably are easier to fix than others, but yeah, I guess it just comes down to how you want to play.
yeah.
Um,
I don't hate this, as in terms of I don't hate how it is currently.
no,
You
no,
just
I
like
don't.
got to build a list around it, and I think that's
Yeah,
again list creation is one of the things that I quite enjoy, derive quite a lot of enjoyment from thinking about lists and
I
list
think
hammer
most people
exercise.
do, don't they? I think that's
I hope
half
so.
the
Yeah,
time is spent just thinking, right, how can I run this?
yeah.
I do find it frustrating when you come up with a cool idea and then the
It doesn't work.
constrictions of the right of war don't
Yeah,
allow you to do that. That's where
yeah.
it can be a bit frustrating.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, we shall see. Shooting reactions need a pass to balance them out and tone some big guns down. Yeah, I think shooting reactions is less of a hardship nowadays because we kind of know, you know, if I shoot at that 10-man last cannon squad, they're going to shoot me back and I'm going to get fucking destroyed. Um, but I still think it needs something. What are your thoughts on that?
I still find it bananas that your 10-man las cannon team costs, the same as an equivalent tank that has got a third of the firepower and can't react and can be one shot.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have always found that a little bit odd.
But
Um,
I don't think that's the shooting reaction per se. I
no,
mean,
and that
obviously, the fact that tanks can't obviously
yeah,
completely fucks it over.
yeah.
Um, but
I
yeah,
wouldn't like, for instance, I wouldn't mind if shooting reactions were made as snapshots.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just feel that there's too much mutually assured destruction in the shooting phase at the moment.
Or I said it from the start, or you do your shooting reaction after your opponent has shot.
Correct. That would
So
be
your 10-man
one
last cannon
thing
squad is now
for.
four. Like
Yeah.
that's less. You
Don't
still get something, you still
yeah.
get a little fuck you back, but
I don't hate that at all.
no. Um
Do not hate that at all.
that yeah, that's kind of as soon as I read that rule when the rules first came out, I was like, oh, I feel like they could change this, but they won't.
Yeah.
That's what I would do personally. Penalty to reacting with high strength heavy weapons. If tanks can only react with defensive weapons, why not infantry? Uh,
You said, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, that's pretty much what we've covered. Yeah,
Because then everyone's run fucking Volkite Culverins again, and we just
yeah.
a whole different sweaty mess. So
But do you think this would be less galling if tanks could just react? If they could just shoot back with all their guns, but then I guess that brings in other problems of some
yeah,
tanks have.
yeah. Do you solve anything? This is it. Is it you just putting sticking plasters over a leg amputation?
Yeah.
So, like, does it actually really help? I think I would go so far as to say this is probably going to be one of the bigger debates. Certainly is in amongst our gaming group, and probably will be in the comments as well. I would have thought.
Yeah.
If you've
Yeah.
got obviously any comments to add to any of these things, we're really interested to hear your opinion. We think this is a very um, interesting debate topic generally. So do feel free to drop a comment, and I'll do my best to respond to as many as I can, as I'm sure other viewers and listeners will as well.
Additional generic rights of war, e.g., breaches, destroyers, bike companies.
Can't believe that these don't exist, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I think it
yeah,
would be like three worthwhile pages in a 400-page book
yeah. I have kept my fingers crossed for a destroyer's right of war
forever.
forever, like
Yeah.
literally forever. Just make it a thing.
Making
Um,
Moritat be able to be your warlord,
yeah, destroyers,
destroy his
squads,
troops, gain
line.
line, seize
Yeah.
it. It's
Oh,
easy.
that would be so fucking cool. I'd be
It would
all
be
over
cool.
that.
And they do
Um,
exist. Like, they do exist within the
yeah,
law
of course. Yeah,
game.
yeah,
So
yeah,
why don't
yeah,
why don't they exist on the tabletop? It just
yeah.
that this one feels like an absolute no-brainer to me personally.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we can keep our fingers crossed, but I doubt
Hmm.
it. Make it harder to one-shot a full health vehicle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
this has been a thing forever, hasn't it? Even when I got back into seventh edition of like it's galling. You put your, you know, 450 point Spartan down and turn one, it gets popped, and you're like, oh, fuck my life.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I don't really know what the answer is. Just
I
don't let it be popped.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't take Spartan. I always find this one a bit funny because surely, like, tanks are cool. Like, tanks are really, really fun. Playing with vehicles is really interesting and really a nice way to play, I personally think. Surely they want to sell more of these kits. They're the more expensive kits. So why
Yeah,
why
yeah,
make a 10-man las cannon squad the best thing in the game
yeah, yeah.
when you should have this big lumbering trundling behemoth that is a massive points investment, financial investment, and a time investment to get it on the table, and it's just
Just
done.
taken. It's yeah. It's see, I have mixed feelings about this because I do actually quite like the fact that you can just one shot vehicles. It's quite satisfying just popping an opponent, just your opponent's vehicle going bang. It's like
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't get me
that's
wrong.
you
It
know.
is very thematic.
But yeah, like you say, your 450 point tank just getting removed before it's even done anything is just not a fun uh gaming experience.
No.
Yeah, whether they just I mean, you could just remove it from the damage table. You could take tanks to wounds.
Yeah. It's worth
I don't
bearing in
know
mind
this.
that we're offering significantly more problems than we are solutions to these problems. So
I
but that's not
mean,
our job, right? Our
that's not a
job,
job. Yeah.
we're here to offer comments. We're commentators on this.
But this is one thing that I do 100% agree with, and more so now with the shooting reaction. Like you say, you don't want to shoot that tank into that 10-man last squad.
No.
Excuse me, because you're probably going to lose that tank to reaction fire,
Yeah.
and that's just
Losing a
boring, isn't it?
vehicle of such a points value in your own turn is
Yeah, to a load of dudes is just
it just
insane. Yeah,
doesn't feel right at all.
no, no. Separate vehicle reactions, pop smoker's reaction for a shroud, all turn. Yeah, I love that.
Love that.
I don't hate that.
Nope.
Um, yeah,
Pay 5 points for a smoke launcher, or and away you go.
yeah,
Gives you a different reaction. I think that's absolutely fine.
yeah, I
The
like
big
that.
elephant in the room is that do we think reactions are going to stay in the game for the third edition is the question. Because I
I,
have heard rumors to the contrary that
oh, really? Oh,
reaction
uh,
going. So I
well,
mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if they went because reactions must give them the biggest headache of trying to balance this
mm,
game. Like Last Cannon squads is a prime example. They probably never foresaw the fact, like fucking foolishly, that this one unit is just like the immediate counter to uh any vehicles. Like it's just like, yeah, just take a 10-man last cannon squad. And if they
yeah,
shoot me, I'll just return fire with my 10-man last cannon squad.
yeah. I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts in the comments, is if they want to keep reactions or if they get rid of them, and maybe we can put a poll up as
Yeah.
well. I'm
I
very curious. I think it would be 50-50.
yeah, I mean I like reactions. I think it adds something to your
Hmm.
turn. I do like them. It's another thing to think about. It's another kind of strategy, you can push things forward and then run them away and this and that. I think a lot of people would agree that they prefer the Zone Mortalis reactions to the main game
Yeah, I
reactions,
disagree.
and I think a lot of people would probably be happy just to have them as the as the
Yeah,
reactions. But yeah, it's an interesting one for
yeah,
GW to get their fucking head around.
yeah.
MFUA, make flyers usable again. Yeah, um, yeah.
That's
That's
a
all that
reaction
needs to be
problem, isn't
said.
it? That's not a problem with flyers.
Again,
That's a reaction problem.
yeah, yeah. Fly it on, react, remove it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
it's not
Roll the
fun for
dice.
anyone.
If it turns up, on it comes, off it goes. See you later.
And I mean, the thing I find ridiculous about it is if anyone's ever had plane fly low over them, like you aren't shooting that thing for shit. Like, 'cause they move really, really fast.
Yeah.
Like,
They're notoriously, by their
it's
nature, difficult
it's
to hit.
it's yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. So, and I know this is nonsense future soldier stuff, but yeah, come on. Like planes
Yeah.
flying low and fast are hard to shoot out the sky with your fucking shoulder mounted whatever it is.
I remember an early game of second edition. I pulled a Xiphon out of my case. I held it in my hand, rolled for its reserve. It came on. It was immediately shot. I then put it back into my case and it never touched the board.
I mean, it's just
Just
literally
held in my
like
hand
it's
whilst my
just
opponent
not
rolled its
fun for
reaction.
anyone, is it? And again, like you rarely see.
And that happens in the fucking movement phase. Like it's not even
Yeah,
shooting
yeah,
phase yet.
yeah. Yeah. And actually, who was the event that just ran that did the
Attrition.
flies? Attrition just did an event where I believe it was you couldn't react when they flew on. That was
Yeah.
literally all it was. You
And
can't
there were
react against
flies
flies.
everywhere and everyone's having a
Yeah.
great time with it.
And that's all it took was that. And I think that's just an easy fix there. You can't
Yeah.
react against flies because they're fast. They take you by surprise. Like it's what they do.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, fucking hell, honestly. But it's a shame because it's a whole aspect of the game that now just isn't being used, is it? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think, oh, I need to take anti-aircraft weapons because no one's running flies. And if they are, then I've probably got something that can just react against it when it flies on anyways, like
Yeah.
my 10-man last cannon squad. Um, make fortifications usable again. Points, updates, and rules that actually work. Yeah, I mean, if you are a member of our Patreon, me and Rob did a Tactica on fortifications, and essentially just don't bother. Like they're
Apart from an
just
Aegis defense line,
apart from Aegis Defense Line.
which is the only miniature for a fortification that actually sell.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's how.
really.
I mean,
Oh,
you can see the
interesting.
correlation there, can't you?
Yeah, yeah, good.
Yeah,
Fucking hell. But yeah, fortifications, yeah, just needs something because again, like they just pop and they kill everything inside. Limit reactions to one per unit per game turn, not per phase, e.g., no single unit intercepting return fire and overwatching in one turn. Yeah,
yeah,
I yeah, I don't mind. I just think certain reactions need tweaking, but yeah, whatever.
yeah. It's something to consider, isn't it? Don't hate that.
Yeah,
Don't hate that as an idea.
no.
And I hate a
Some
lot of ideas. So,
say again.
and I hate a lot of ideas.
We hate change.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, absolutely.
Something, uh,
Something
something,
artificial.
something artificial armor tanking. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's it again. This has forever been
Yep,
feels bad when
yep,
you put 15, 20 wounds on attack squad and the sergeant steps up and is like 2+, 2+, 2+, two
yeah,
plus, 2+, 2+. And an easy fix that a lot of people have been using is you can take as many artificial armor saves as your initiative. So if you're
yep,
initiative 4, you can tank 4 wounds and then it moves on to the squad.
yeah. I
Um,
don't think
uh,
that's a universally accepted house rule, but I think it's quite widely accepted.
yeah.
I think it's quite a good one. I'll be honest with you, I've always hated this. I don't.
I
Yeah.
have, but then I am
You've
also
also guilty
very
doing it
fucking
yourself, aren't
guilty.
you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You cheeky little prawn.
And literally looking in my opponent's eye when I'm on my 20th 2+ roll, just
Yeah,
being like, you feel bad right now. I'm feeding off your negative energy.
yeah,
Yeah, it just creates feel bad moments, doesn't it?
yeah.
And no one likes a feel bad moment. Something to stop challenge locking independent characters, Primarch Sovereigns, so they only kill a single guy. Bring back challenge overspill. Yeah,
I think that's we've got the problem and the solution right there, haven't we?
it's just fucking stupid, isn't
It
it?
is
And
fucking stupid.
yeah, it goes towards uh the
Combat res.
yeah, but no one gives a fuck. Just bring back challenge overspill. Why not?
Yeah,
Like you kill your dude you're in a challenge with, and then you just keep swinging.
yeah,
Like
exactly. You think Sigismund's just going to murder the guy in front of him and then be like,
yeah, and then stop. Oh, I'm gonna take a breather now.
yeah,
Um,
it's not going to happen.
no,
It's
no.
going to swing that sword wildly in the end of his chain. It's
Yeah,
decapitating mooks as he goes.
exactly. It's just dumb. And
Yep.
yeah, yeah, there you go. Help super heavies and big knights out a bit, but SH are built. Oh,
Give super heavies a built-in invulnerable save as a
yeah, I don't hate that. In fact, I would be happy for all vehicles to have a built-in invulnerable save. Um, dreadnoughts have invulnerable saves. Why wouldn't a big fuck off tank that's transporting all your dudes across the battlefield? But
yeah.
each whatever. Uh,
Yeah, void shields could give an invulnerable save, no
I
problem
mean, you
at
could
all, I think.
literally just have, I don't know, whatever armor 5+ in one save. Like you
Yeah,
don't even have to create a thing. You could just, reactive armor 5+ in one save.
yeah.
Like done. You know. I but yeah. I mean, I don't think that gets rid of the problem of, a 5+ in one save is great, but it you never roll it when you want to.
No,
It's
but
it's something.
yeah, I mean, you can still shroud, I suppose. You can still kind of give them a pseudo 5+ invulnerable save.
Yeah,
Fact
true.
that again, like with some half decent rolling, 5 las cannons can take down a mastodon if you get those additional like 3 hull points. It's shit like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
It just makes
Yeah.
and again, these kits are beautiful. They're so iconic and they are just seldom seen because they're expensive to purchase. They are largely resin, so they are a hyper ball ache to put together.
Yeah.
And then you've got to spend a load of time painting them. Like no
Yeah.
wonder you see people with glaives and fell blades anymore because 10-man las cannon team's just better than them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's just a
I
bit
know that we
shit,
use the
isn't it?
10-man lads cannon team, but that is the kind of the arch enemy of this
Yeah,
game for me.
yeah.
So
Get rid of the daft FAQ ruling that made retinues and transports part of the 25% limit for
yeah,
prime
easily.
marks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Who's
yeah.
playing an 8,000 point game and wants to take Perturabo? I mean, I
Yeah,
think it was. I
yeah.
think I looked at it like Perturabo, six iron circle, and and like Dominator. You got to be playing like 13,000 points to get him in.
Yeah. And again, like if someone wanted to play me and they wanted to run it, I'd just be like, yeah, don't give a
Of
fuck.
course,
Come
I
on.
would too,
Yeah,
but
yeah. And I think most people would, but let's just make it official.
yeah,
Like, yeah, it's just dumb, dumb, dumb. Deep strike conga lining, go back to deploying in circles or make all units have to deploy with a radius of the first model. Yeah. And
if you
the
deep
thing I
strike conga
find
line against me, I'm just going to push your models into a bin because
just sweep across in one
yeah,
point.
because you're
Um,
just not worth my time.
the thing I
I only
find
have so many hours to live my life, and I'm not going to spend any of them interacting with some of the deep strike conga lines against me.
the thing I find hilarious is in first edition. Again, for those who didn't know, first edition, if you're a deep strike in a unit, you put the first model down, and then
Yeah,
every other model had to be in base contact with that model. So you basically put it in circles.
yeah,
So they dropped down in a little circle, and it looked quite cool. Um, and then someone with their strength 10 AP2 Medusa would fucking wipe that unit out their first turn of shooting. Now we don't have strength 10 AP2
no.
artillery, and they've got rid of the deploying in circles, which
But also as
seems
well, you
bizarre.
you can you can still basically, you can still shoot and charge out of a deep strike, and a vehicle can't react anyway. And a vehicle's not going to be able to intercept you. So I don't think I feel like that particular argument as a counterpoint is a bit moot.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh,
It's
I can hate it
yeah.
so fucking
And
much.
even in the stories, when they talk about like the Terminators appearing, they're always like all round defense. They're in a circle, fucking
Mhm.
shooting out at dickheads around them. They're not conga lining, across the bridge of a spaceship. If it's just
Yeah,
dumb. Yeah. So yeah, just go back to deploying
clumps,
in
mate.
circle.
Bring back clumps.
Yeah. Scrap the bitter duty fac and make Moritats back to being the loners they should be. Yeah, I completely agree with
Don't
that.
disagree with this at all.
Do you? Oh, you don't. Sorry, I
No,
thought
I
you said
don't. No, 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 no,
no.
no. Do not disagree. I
I
think
mean, the whole
up until the
point of
point
the
where they
fucking unit is he runs on his own. Everyone
exactly,
hates
yeah.
it.
Yeah, for anyone who wants to run a Moritat, however, though, you can visit the Patreon and see the special that Rob and I did on running Moritat so units to make them absolute hyper murderers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
There's the heresy hammer morals for you.
yeah,
We don't
absolutely.
like it, but we'll teach you how to do it really
Yeah,
effective.
precisely. Yeah, yeah. It makes us feel better because you're paying us.
But yeah, I agree with that totally. Moritats should not be running around with other dickheads unless they are destroyer squads.
Correct, unless they're in a destroyer right of war, which also doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. Give outflank two markers for arrival sites to make it more tactical and avoid traffic jams, or better yet, get rid and stop advertising their position. Yep, 100%. The whole fucking point of an
Yeah,
outflank is you take your enemy by surprise. Like that
yeah,
is literally going back to when they were throwing sticks and stones at each other. The whole fucking point of an outflank is to surprise your enemy.
yeah,
It's like literally it is the most basic infantry tactic you get taught, like from day one of the outflank. Is you don't fucking tell them, "Oi, hey, dickhead, we're over here and we're going
yeah,
around that way." Like you fucking sneak in and attack them from the left or the right. Like that
yeah.
is the whole fucking point.
I mean, you don't. The thing is, you don't have
Ah,
to advertise. Like, you don't have to put markers down for where you're going to infiltrate your units before
no,
you your
yeah,
infiltrators, do
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. No,
Or
no.
deep strike, apart from if you're a blood angel. But this is so fucking stupid. Yeah, get rid of this. This is fine.
Yeah,
This can go. This can get immediately into the bin.
absolutely. Agree with that 100%. Allow charging out of outflanking. Why can you charge after appearing anywhere on the table after jumping from space, but can't when you leisurely walk on the board at the advertised location? Yeah,
Completely
I
agree.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Make the +1/+2 on the vehicle damage table to be tied to an anti-tank roll, not to the AP of the weapon, like the old 40k tank hunters rule used to be. Units are better at killing vehicles when they're trained to hit the key targets, not just because the gun is powerful. Yeah, I don't hate that. Um, I guess the trouble is this comes back to probably the best anti-tank weapon in the game is a las cannon. Um, and then you're making las cannons better at destroying
Like
vehicles.
glass cannon's great again, Lee. Blah, blah, blah.
But I don't hate that to a specific role rather than a weapon,
No.
a tank hunter role. Some rules interactions are far better than the sum of their parts, e.g., rending and shred or brutal and instant death. Uh,
The problem with brutal
yeah,
is it's just far too. I don't mind things like demolisher cannons and typhons having brutal. I think it's quite
yes, yeah,
cool. I
yeah,
think the problem is when the biggest culprit of brutal is Thunderhammer, because why would you take a
yeah,
chance or a powerfish when you take a Thunderhammer for
yeah,
the same or a few more points?
absolutely. And it, yeah, like you say, brutal should be something that is brutal, like
Hmm.
demolisher cannon. Like that is
Yeah,
a big, massive piece of ordnance coming towards you. Um, and then some weapons don't have brutal that you're like, well, actually, that's a big fuck off gun. That should actually probably be a little bit more brutal than, you know, a Thunderhammer. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, again, it's, yeah. Um, will we see brutal on Thunderhammers going? Will we see brutal going
I
forward?
don't think from
No.
the rumors I've heard around the traps is that brutal is going away, so
Yeah. Um,
that'll make Vindicators even worse.
there you go. You heard it here first.
Never mind.
Vindicators are shit in third edition.
Yeah, because obviously they're so good in second.
Changes to deep strike, con gaining,
Conquering.
con gaining. I prefer con gaining. Pinning makes it very
Congang.
strong, but
Congang and a pinning
interceptor
make it very strong.
but interceptor makes it pointless. Yeah, yeah.
Interceptor is a hard counter, but I don't think it makes it pointless.
No,
I think Kerry's trying to start an argument with me here, and I'm not going to let him.
I think it's catch 22, isn't it? If
Yeah,
you don't have interceptor, then deep strike is fucking savage. If you have no reaction to someone's entire army landing in front of you and charging you, you know, as
going to make Deep
someone,
Strike insane.
yeah, yeah. Um, but
Yeah,
on the flip side, it can be a
it can
feel
be
bad
countered,
when
but then
you
I don't, I don't hate it as it is. I think the
no,
difficulty you have is that if you were to say remove the ability of Deep Strike units to charge on the turn they Deep Strike, then no one would Deep Strike, and it's
yeah,
a really
yeah,
fundamental core part of the game that makes certain armies behave in a certain way that you just can completely and utterly nullify.
yeah,
So um, honestly, I even think if you just get rid of the ability to conga line, then I would be
yeah,
happy with Deep
yeah.
Strike working exactly how it does now, including the ability to intercept it.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Scalable interceptor can only have the same number of units reacting as are arriving, or make it so each individual arriving unit can only trigger a single reaction. Um, yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah, I would be fine with that being the way that it worked.
Go back to first edition interceptor. If you intercept, can't fire the following turn. Um,
Now that is a spicy meatball.
it's
It would make you think very, very
it's
long
exactly
and
what I was going to
hard.
say. Yeah, yeah. And that's what it did in first edition. You
Yeah.
had to think, do I want to shoot this or do I
Mm.
want to wait? Yeah, I don't hate that. Augury scanners just do too much for too few points. Ignore the night
Correct.
fighting range and prevent infiltrate and free interceptor. There's no reason not to take one. Yeah.
Correct. I
I
think they
mean,
should be a lot less prevalent and a few more points.
yeah. Um,
Personally.
yeah, I mean, that was said from the very start, wasn't it? I don't think anyone's mind has changed on that.
No.
Points rebalance without excessively changing the rules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine. Just a points rebalance. We know that some stuff is too expensive. We know that stuff is insanely cheap.
Yeah. Make every support and heavy support option valid, even if only by making the obviously better ones more expensive. Yeah. Um, yeah, it just comes into a points rebalance, really, doesn't it? Again.
Yeah,
Uh,
and also maybe looking at things like rights of war that grant additional force orgs, for instance.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that was a thing that existed in the first edition. I kind of don't necessarily see why it can't exist now. Like if you're an Iron Warriors Iron Fire player, why can't you take four heavy support choices?
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Give support squads line.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, yeah, fucking just do it.
Yeah,
Like they're a support squad, so you can't just fill your army with support squads. They literally have the rule support squad, but give them line.
yeah,
Veterans in Artificer and Terminator armor.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that
com-
would then make Part of the Legion really interesting.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't really see veterans at all now, do you? Because of command squads.
Yeah, why would you? Why would you bother taking a
Yeah,
veteran and take a
yeah.
command squad?
Command squads of Legion specific weapons, some for some, not others. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a relatively simple and straightforward. I'm not sure we're going to have too many arguments for that one.
Make Solar Auxilia usable in Zone Mortalis. Um, yeah, I mean, it's kind of their thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Solar Auxilia.
they're
It's what
supposed
they're
to
meant
be.
to be
A
good
lot of
at.
them, especially Velataris, are like they're fighting the Void War.
Yeah, so, yeah, that makes sense. I don't hate that. Tweak Contemptors. Rules are fine as they are. Maybe a slight price increase, maybe not. Weapon skill 5. Um,
I think they could do with being 205 points base, and
yeah, I
be
just
fine with
think a
that.
slight points increase would be all
Yeah.
right. Tiers of Contemptors, Quarters, regular or ancients. Yeah, we used to have Quarters before, didn't we?
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Give it to me. Give me the quarters. And give me death.
late heresy versions of the Legion rules that aren't shit like the corrupted Emperor's Children.
Oh, fucking hell. Poor
100%.
guys.
Yeah.
Poor guys.
And I would actually I would be more than happy to see, although it'd probably get very confusing. Like oh god, I can't think what the game's called now. The World War II
Oh,
bolt
action.
action. They have like an early war, mid war, late war.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be against that. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily have to call it that. But yeah, like the corrupted Emperor's Children, like they're just almost, well, they're just unplayable, really, aren't they?
Just
Without,
dog shit.
yeah. So yeah, which is a shame because it's such a cool idea.
I know.
Such a cool idea.
You never see it because it's
No,
absolute garbage.
yeah. But yeah, it would be cool to see late heresy versions where the legions are kind of that borderline between Chaos Space Marines and
Yep.
still being part of the Legion.
Absolutely. No problems with that whatsoever.
Cyberthurgy needs some attention and updating. Okay.
I don't know that it
I,
needs too
I
much
don't think it's that
personally.
bad, but yeah. I
Yeah, I
I
don't
haven't
really have a
played
lot
it,
of.
so
I think the thing with Cyberthurgy is we're only starting to unravel some of it now that we're seeing way more Mechanicum armies.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
But personally, for me, I don't see Cyberthurgy as too much of an issue.
no, no. Give the Dreadclaw back assault vehicle. Yeah,
Yes.
that is literally all that needs to be said about that. Make a few more units a 0 to 1 option. Yeah, I don't hate
Fine.
that.
Yeah.
And not even 0 to 1. You could again, like Contemptors, you could just do
Yeah.
0 to 3 or whatever.
Yeah. 0 to 1 in a Talon of 3. Away you go.
Yeah. Make artillery viable. Ooh, I see.
Because we just end up back where we were in 2014,
And
where
it
it's
was just
just
so
everyone's
shit.
running three
Yeah,
Medusas.
yeah. It was so crap. Just to
Yeah.
fucking oh, strength 10 AP2, remove that unit. Strength
Yeah.
10 AP2, remove that unit. You're like, oh fuck. But I do think they need something because
Yep.
at the minute they are just shit.
Yeah. They've gone
Like
too far, right?
it's almost yeah, like yeah, it needs something, but I would not want us to even oh, I don't know. Yeah. just make the breaching better, like breaching 3+, breaching 4+, but reduce the strength to 7, so they're not instant killing 2 wound
Yeah,
units. Something, anything. I'm just like spitballing off the top of my head. But yeah, I would not want to go back to what it was because it was just again, it was those feel bad moments of
yeah,
I remember playing against three Medusas and it's just like remove that, remove that. Every turn was just remove that, remove that, remove
yeah.
that,
It's
and you're like,
just
this is
it's dog shit.
not
Don't like
fun.
it.
Move vehicles to wounds a la 40k.
Not for me
Ooh,
personally. Not for me, Clive.
no, I it's funny, isn't it? Because people are against it, but then people didn't hate when contemptors went to wounds.
No,
Um,
I think it makes. I think it's. I. I think for like dreadnoughts and cavalry, it's fine, and actually,
yeah,
it's probably more sense. I just think that vehicles have always and should behave in a different way to
yeah,
other units. I think realistically, you just need to make them a bit more survivable.
yeah.
How you
Agreed.
do that, I don't know. I'm not the guy, but what I do think is that
I would say the wounds in 40k on vehicles is the easy way to not just having the remove turn one. That is,
yeah, I
that's the
know.
counter argument is if you don't want your unit removed turn one, that
Yeah,
is an easy way to do it.
I just
But
want there to be a more
I
elegant solution, Lee.
Yeah, no, I agree with you totally. I like the fact that vehicles behave differently to everything else because they're vehicles.
Mm,
So I would not want to see that, but it is the easy option, which makes me think GW would
that's the way.
probably, yeah. But I have not heard any rumors about that.
Yeah,
Just more of my fears and anxieties coming through.
coming to the fore.
Yeah, but yeah, I do like the fact that vehicles behave differently.
Yep.
Because otherwise, what's the point? You know what I mean? They just become another thing that, you know.
Hmm.
Thunderhammers stay brutal too, but be strength +3 instead of ×2 makes them
Love it.
dangerous.
Yeah.
And choice between hammer
Big,
and power feast is actually a choice. Yeah,
big shout out
I
to,
think
I
we.
think it was Magel on one of our previous episodes who suggested this one.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like I believe, from what I understand, uh, Brutal is going to go away.
Javelin's points needs a serious review.
They just need to charge more than fucking 5 points for two las cannons. Come
Yeah,
on, guys. Like,
that's it. I don't
mental.
think javelin is the problem. I think it's
No.
5 point last cannons that's the
Yeah.
problem. Yeah. Make void shields recharge again. Yeah, don't hate that.
Yep.
Make bikes usable again. Bikes being +1 toughness as a rule as old as time. Jet bikes don't need the 2+ save again, but bikes of both varieties should be toughness 5 or battle hardened 1. Yeah,
Yeah.
agree
Could not
totally.
disagree. Battle Hardened 1 would be really, really cool. Because it
Yeah,
would then represent, I think, like in combat, you could then like punch a guy off of a bike with your power.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
Battle
yeah.
Hardened 1, I think would be cool. In fact, I'd have no beef if like going to an event where bikes are a house rule to be Battle Hardened 1.
Interesting. Yeah, yep. Cool. Yeah, no,
It's my
I
two
like
penny,
that.
but there we go.
I would say jet bikes being toughness 5 2+ save in first edition was
Yeah, you can go for
just
it.
fucking like, oh, fuck off. You just
Yeah.
fuck off.
But Battle Hardened 1 with a free up save.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
it's
it's
good.
hard to
They need
hate.
something
They
because
do need
I
something.
fucking love jet bikes, but you just don't see them.
Yep.
The end of second edition. The old trope is that gamers fear change. We certainly don't want things we enjoy using to suddenly become unusable one way or the other. Looking at you, Formantaris, what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I feel like we've given a lot of our thoughts, and there are a lot of talking points about this. We are starting to hear more and more and more rumors from different sources that are starting to corroborate each other. We're not going to say too much at this time because it's not necessarily fair to stoke a fire, I don't think, because we'd obviously only be giving people incorrect information. You know, we don't want people to think,
Yeah,
oh, I'm not going to go out and buy
yeah,
this thing now because I'm worried that it won't exist or be able to operate like this in the next edition of the game. We don't know if it's coming and when it's coming. We just got a strong feeling that it might well be coming next summer.
yeah,
And some of the things that we have heard are starting to sound more and more and more true. But I think there are a lot of interesting talking points about changes that we would like to see, or alternatively, not like to see going forwards.
Yeah, I think even if they made the bestest, most amazing game ever, there would be things in it that people didn't like. That's just the way of the world, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think, yeah, the main thing is like I've kept like an ear open for the rumors, but I don't pay too much attention, and I'm not gonna like throw my toys out the pram until I actually have a new rule book in my hand. And
yeah,
even then, you need to give it a go. Like you
yeah,
see it so many times, and it happened with second edition. Is people are losing their minds over stuff, and then people got some games in and were like, oh, actually, this isn't that bad, or
yeah.
actually,
I'm
I
having
would say
fun.
my
What
biggest
the hell?
gripe with second edition is just the rules writing. If I'm totally honest, and
Yeah,
I don't mean that to bash the rules writers. I'm sure it's really hard writing rules, but sometimes I just read rules and I'm like, I just don't know what you've just used so many words here. I have
yeah.
no idea what you're
Fewer
trying to
words,
say.
fewer words and more context, I think,
Yeah,
would
yeah,
be
just
very,
literally,
very appreciated, guys. If
literally.
anyone's listening out there that has any influence on this,
Oh God, and just play test the fuck out of it. I know games don't get play tested anything like they get play tested the day they're released, but just play test and listen to your play testers.
yeah.
Like, just do it because
But
that's where,
also, if you know, if something, a problem or a problem unit or a problem rule rears its head, just back it. Like, don't be
yeah,
afraid to
yeah,
say, actually, this isn't working as we intended, so we're going to
yeah,
change it. Or this particular unit or series of units or Wrath of War is actually a real, like, massive problem, so we're just going to change it around. I,
yeah.
I, I
I
feel like
do,
that's there's a certain amount of neglect when it comes to updates, which
yeah.
is unfair.
But then I again, like, just to be the counter argument to that is I do like the fact that I mean they don't knee jerk reaction to it because like it takes like a year to get a fact.
Correct.
But sometimes people will be losing their mind over things, i.e., contemptors, and actually in the long run, it's not that bad. So
No.
I don't want them to like knee jerk react facts or points changes when actually it was actually all right. It was just people losing their mind. But I
Yeah,
don't think we have to worry too much too
but the fact
much about that one.
it's been nearly 3 years and it's still 4 points for two las cannons on the javelin
In fact, the Javelin did have an updated rules, didn't it? Because they
yeah,
re-released it with the
for the
plastic.
plastic sponsors.
They still fucking kept it at 5. Shit the bed. Someone loves javelins on the rules team.
I mean, I love javelins, but
Yeah, I mean everyone loves
I'm
javelins.
happy to pay 20 points for two las cannons.
Yeah, I mean my thoughts are I'm just kind of just whatever really.
Yeah,
It's my thoughts. I'm not excited, I'm not scared, I'm not anything. I'm just doing second edition, and if a third edition comes out, it comes out, and I'll play that. And if it's shit, I'll probably still play it because I'm
yeah.
a sucker for Heresy.
Yeah, exactly that. We're too far down the rabbit hole now.
That's
You
it.
can't start crawling back
Like,
out. You only
no,
end up digging yourself further down if you start doing that.
and it's funny, isn't it?
Like
Because
quicksand.
I've looked at other game systems. I've looked at 40k, and I'm just like, oh god, everyone just wants to fucking murder each other. I'm like, oh, that I just it holds no interest to me.
No.
But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are in the comments. Are you worried? Are you scared? Are you happy? Do you not give two fucks? Do you not think a new edition's come in? Let us know what you think. Um, and for now, we're just going to give a shout out to Beowulf. Again, if you want any awesome miniatures stuff, printing, 3D printing, hook them up. Battle Bling. They've been knocking out some. Was it you put a picture up of the Sirax upgrade kits for the plastic Thalax?
Yeah.
They look
Really, really cool.
it. So Battle Bling, if you don't know, kind of their main thing, I guess, is Adeptus Titanicus, but they're doing a lot more stuff for 28 mil
Conversion kits for 28 mil is
Heresy.
more stuff appearing. Yeah.
Yeah, so go check them out, and if you use the Heresy Hammer code, you get 10% off. So go check them out. Bits Monsters are a bits seller based out of Northern Ireland. Free shipping in the UK, over 25 quid. If you use their if you go and buy anything from them, use the Heresy Hammer code for 10% off all Heresy items. So go check them out. Shout out to them. And we haven't really mentioned it, but for those that don't know, we have a Patreon where we do kind of tacticas, we do giveaways, we do all
The
sorts of.
Tacticas, by the way, are additional tactical deep dive videos. You get 2 additional videos every month, so double the Heresy Hammer content.
I mean, go and sign up now. What more
Go
do
and
you
do it.
need?
What are you
Um,
even waiting for?
and our top Praetor tier is these absolute dick swingers you see now. So a massive, huge thank you to them. I'm currently working on what will be the next giveaway.
The next
Uh,
swag reward for our top
yeah, the next
patrons.
reward. So
This
these
is only the first
guys.
page. I've just noticed. Look
I
at the
mean, yeah, these are
state
two
of it.
pages now. These are like
Oh,
the absolute tippy top of our
yeah.
supporters. So thank you very, very much to them. These are what's the best edition of 40k? What would you say is the best edition of
For
40k?
me, it's third edition.
These are the third edition of 40k. These are the
It's
tippy
tough
top.
because third edition. I got into 40k at second edition, but third edition is the kind of iconic memory of playing 40k as a child.
Okay.
In those
Was third
halcyon.
edition the one where they had the War Gear book? You had like a book
Nah,
of War
second
Gears.
edition.
Oh, okay.
When a heavy Weber was
Yes.
strength 4 plus D3 plus D8 plus D20.
I
Yeah.
had I still got it. Fucking hell, we're on a tangent now.
Well, while you're tangenting, I'm going to say that you can subscribe to our Patreon for just a mere £3 a month and get double the content plus additional rewards, and you can support all the way up to Praetor tier, where you'll receive a big old bag of swag every 6 months. I will say that you definitely want to be subscribed to the Harry Summer Patreon in December, because we are about to announce our second annual giveaway extravaganza, and we're giving away more stuff this year, and we're talking like hundreds of pounds worth of stuff will be going to one
Yes,
lucky patron. So you've
literally.
got to be in it to win it. So head over to the Patreon, it's patreon.com/heresyhammer, or go to Patreon and search Heresy Hammer. A little tip for you: if you're going to do that and you are an Apple iOS user, do not, whatever you do, subscribe through the Patreon app on iOS, because you will be charged Apple's bullshit premium of 30% extra. Just open a web browser and subscribe there. Feel free to, use the app for content, but don't give us any money through it, because you're going to be paying more than we would want you to. So
Yeah.
that's my pro tip there. But yeah, anyway, you need to be involved in the Patreon in December so you can be entered into our big giveaway, details of which we will announce very soon.
Check it out. Keep your eyes and ears peeled.
Yeah. And your
I think
mouth.
that's it. I think that's it. We're done.
We're done. Yeah, if you've got any questions and queries, any lists or correspondence for the community show, then email us harrysam30k@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts about our discussion topics today. What do you want to see?
Yeah.
What do you not like? What do you want to argue with us about? Join the Patreon. It helps keep all of the lights on, which is wonderful, and help keeps us going. And yeah, subscribe on the podcast app. Go get your phone out now and think, oh, I like listening to podcasts on Audible or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever it is, and subscribe to Heresy Hammer there. And join the WhatsApp community, because it's popping. And you can get to talk to
Absolutely.
Lee.
Well,
Direct,
sometimes. Yeah.
direct Lee.
Hey, see what you
Hey,
did there. On that note,
here we go.
see you later.
Take
Bye
care. Bye bye.
bye. Cool.